Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So Moira has gained a lot of popularity recently and is currently sitting at third in the most played heroes on Overbuff. Could be a few things really. A, she's a very fun hero to play. B, she's a support, so even better. C, Mercy players are transitioning over to other supports because of the nerfs. And D, she does feel really impactful in a lot of senses. However, there's definitely a problem forming because of Moira's popularity surging, and it's something that we actually spoke about when we first saw her added into the game. But do let me know what you think of Moira though in the comments below, whether you've seen an increased amount of her, I suppose, whether you play a lot of her yourself, let us know below. But Mercy's popularity was expected to drop when these changes came through to her. Like Bitcoin's worth, Mercy's playbase felt like it plummeted overnight, and thus they changed to other means. But the thing that I've seen definitely popping up more recently is these Moira one-trick accounts. I say one-trick, but it's definitely more like 15 hours played on Moira, 1 hour played on the next hero, for example. So whilst they're still a Moira main, they don't just play Moira, there's a big difference between time that they've played a Moira and then the next hero that comes along. While that's all well and good, you can't be banned for a one-tricking after all, anything like that, and she's a support so she does have some use. There seems to be this big misconception that Moira can and is useful all of the time. There's several reasons why as well Moira is picked over other supports. Firstly, Lucio's kinda trash at the moment, Mercy's future is very uncertain and her reputation around the community is questionable at best. Symmetra is really reserved for niche use or one trickery, and said yeah, it can be quite difficult to play, especially if your team aren't peeling and looking after you in those times that you need them. Well, this should give you a good gauge on how the higher tiers really perceive Moira. She is the first most played hero overall, we went over that at the start of the video, but in GM she's actually in 14th place. And she starts to fall in popularity around Diamond, and it's very telling as to why. Moira's use is very niche, whichever way that you look at it. She wasn't as good as Zenyatta or Mercy in the previous patches, but compared to Zenyatta for the lower tiers, Moira has a few more tricks up her sleeve to get out of risky situations. She's almost like a Zenyatta with stabilizers, not in the sense that she's a budget version of the hero, but more that there's contingencies set in place for when things go south. You have a bit of a safety net playing Moira more than you do with Zenyatta. But the problem with Moira is that she's more useful in some situations, maps and compositions than others, but those reasons that I just stated make it much more niche than it would be for Zen, Mercy or even Lucio a lot of the time. If your team is playing dive, Moira won't be as useful as other supports. If you're playing on a map with loads of high ground, Moira won't be as useful as other supports. Granted, that's the same for Zenyatta, but any time that you have long distance away from your team, you're just not going to be as effective. But I feel that the biggest gripe I have with Moira players is that they don't know when they're being ineffective on this hero. She's very subtle in how she plays. This is what we said when she was first added into the game. It can be very difficult to tell when you're not doing as much on this hero. But finding that DPS balance can be quite difficult to do. But it's hard to know that when you're playing Moira in that fight, round or game, when it's lost because of misplays from you or just the fact that you're playing this hero altogether. But now Ryan, I hear you ask, wouldn't that be the case for any other hero in the game at this point? Yes, exactly. Heroes like D.Va, Roadhog, Tracer, Genji, Reaper, Pharah, any real hero in the game that has some proper use, Winston as well, can all have their usefulness shut down by counter picks or certain areas in a map, and also compositions on your side and the enemy side. The issue is almost the assumption that you can just one-trick Moira in every situation, or at least play her exclusively in the same way that you could play Mercy. Mercy has been useful 100% of the time for months now, and now players are trying to dedicate to Moira in the same fashion, and it's just not going to work. The real concern is that the community starts to look down on Moira one-tricks or Moira players the same way that they'll look down on Mercy mains to begin with. I do love Moira and I want to pick her up more, but unless we're running certain compositions like several tanks in the lineup, or a very deathbally squad with Lucio's, it's just not worth doing a lot of the time. Moira's weaknesses are fairly easy to spot from an outsider looking in, but very difficult to spot when you're not being effective playing her yourself. Not to mention you have these Moira players that are so focused on getting eliminations and being aggressive and trying to do DPS that they start bragging to their team that the DPS, like the Tracer, the Genji, aren't killing anything because they've got top of eliminations, but that's because the DPS aren't being healed by you. Kinda winds me up more than anything, but it is a real case of problem that needs people to really address in the game. But at the moment, I think we're starting to see some cracks forming around this hero, and when this Cloud and Mercy meta does dissolve away eventually, it would not surprise me to see members of the community focus on this other support in a similar fashion. So it's just something to bear in mind if you play Moira. Just look out to when you're not good to be as effective as you would be on other heroes. And jobs are good. But that's everything I wanted to go over. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.